The capitalist game has three opposing teams: the entrepreneurs, the consumers, and the employees. But there is a problem. Almost all the time when the game is played, this guy loses. To explain why this happens, I'd like to tell you an interesting story. In October of 1879, Andrew Coleman, together with many successful industrialists, started the Pittsburgh Bessemer Steel Company. The goal of the company was to compete with Edgar Thomson Steel, which started in 1872. As usual in the business world, Coleman and his partners saw Edgar Thomson Steel as the arch enemy they must defeat by all means.
You be ferocious! You be relentless! You be telephone fucking terrorist!
But there was a problem. Pittsburgh, the city where Bessemer Steel was located at this period, was faced with a lot of labor violence. So for example, the city's iron mills were faced with labor lockouts in 1874 and the Great Labor Uprising in July of 1877. The employees of the Pittsburgh Bessemer Steel formed the union called the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers. Now then, this union engaged in various protests, strikes, and lockouts, which became worse during the first quarter of 1882. Now, this is where I'm going with this story, because Pittsburgh Bessemer Steel's employees go on strike every time to demand higher pay and better treatment. The business wasn't productive, nor could it compete with Edgar Thomson Steel. And since Edgar Thomson Steel never allowed unions in its company, its employees were forced to work long hours while nobody could fight for a pay rise. Edgar Thomson Steel was able to reduce its cost of production, which resulted in its ability to sell at a cheaper price than the competitors.
To take advantage of the economies of size, not mark you by charging inflated figures, but by keeping its prices so low that it would bankrupt any other company that might try to compete.
Needless to say, the Pittsburgh Bessemer Steel Company couldn't compete with Edgar Thomson Steel, and by the year 1883, the company was sold to its very enemy, Edgar Thomson Steel. There is something very important I need you to pay attention to in this story. You see, the story is about two ambitious companies, Bessemer Steel versus Edgar Thomson. Now, these two companies have the same goal, to have the largest market share. Now, the companies that succeed in this vicious and callous battle will be the one that can cut costs more than the others. Unfortunately, the fastest way to cut costs is to get your employees to work longer hours while you pay them less than they deserve. That's the capitalist game, whether it's McDonald's, Facebook, Toyota, Walmart, or even Amazon.
You have security cameras right behind you at all times that are looking at you 24/7, and if you don't meet standards or the rates, you're out the door, you're just disposable.
Some people think this is happening because entrepreneurs are evil, but I have a different opinion. Now, imagine there is a cow that roams around because she doesn't have an owner. This cow is looking for food, and in exchange she'll give her milk to whoever gives her some food. Now, 9 farmers needed milk from this cow. At first, the cow wasn't aware of the 9 farmers, so she joyfully gave her milk to the first farmer she encountered. But as soon as the cow understood that 9 farmers wanted her milk, she started choosing which kind of grass she wants to eat. All the 9 farmers desperately needed milk, and the only way to get it is to attract the cow. So they started seducing her with better and better grass. In this endless battle for milk, farmers continuously increased the quantity and quality of the grass they offered the cow, because that's the only way any of them can actually get her attention. Now, there is a third layer in this game: the farm laborers. For any of the farmers to win this battle, the only weapon they have is their laborers. It means that Farmer A can decide to send his laborer to look for the best grasses 10 kilometers away, while Farmer B sends his laborer to go 70 kilometers just to get the best grass that can attract the cow. In this situation, it's difficult to assume that any of the farmers is a bad person, because if they don't seduce the cow, they wouldn't have milk. In a capitalist economy, the cow is the customer. She is spoiled, demanding, and unreasonable because she's the one with the milk. She wants the best product, she wants it fast, and she wants it cheap. Yet, everyone must pretend she's always right.
Customer is always right.
Now, entrepreneurs are the farmers. They need the milk the customer has to give, and they have to seduce her, bribe her, and get her everything she wants, even though she's unreasonable. Faced with a strong desire to get milk from the cow by all means, entrepreneurs are forced to make their employees the scapegoat. To stop being the scapegoat in the capitalist game, you have to increase your power, and there is only one way to increase your power: create more options for yourself. In other words, the single most important thing in the game of power is options.
The number one strategic principle that I say is the most important of all is the person who has options, has more options, is the one who will win in a competitive situation.
So, the reason why a cow, in my analogy, has the most power is that he has the most options. She has 9 farmers begging for her milk. The reason why the farmers have a lot of power over the laborers is that they have many laborers to choose from. Generally, in the game of life, people who have no options are victims because they can't walk away from a bad deal. On page 9 of their 1981 book, Get Into Yes, Roger Fisher and William Ury wrote, and I quote, "A fundamental way to increase your negotiation power is by improving your walkaway alternative." In the same book, the authors wrote about a concept they called the BATNA as follows: your biggest source of power in any negotiation comes from your best alternative to negotiated agreement, BATNA. The concept of BATNA was reiterated by Deepak Malhotra in his 2007 book, Negotiation Genius, as well as Dr. Victoria Medvec's 2021 book, Negotiate Without Fear. And the idea is simple: if you want more power in the capitalist game, you must create more options for yourself. There's only one way to create more options, and that is become more valuable. Improve your skills. Well, I know, this sounds as if I'm asking you to go back to school and get more degrees, and that's what it used to be, but it's a lot simpler these days. For example, a few years ago, Kevin O'Leary was asked, what is the most important skill for people who want to become rich? Well, this was his answer.
I've always said this: there are 3 great career paths if you're going to go to college. The 3 disciplines. Number 1 is engineering, number 2 is engineering, number 3 is engineering.
However, 2 years later, in an interview with Evan Carmichael, when he was to respond to a similar question, here is what he had to say.
I've changed my mind in the last 2 years, and I'll tell you why, Evan. Since the pandemic hit, which has only been 6 months now, the number one demand I have for my companies are people that can take the concept of the business and tell a story about it. Produce a video, do really rich photography, build out 59-second, 39-second, 29-second videos, 14-second videos to plaster all over social media to sell product direct to customer.
In the same interview with Evan, Kevin talked about how he started paying his photographers, editors, and story team as much as $150,000.
If you're a graduate from the arts, or you're a writer, or you're a photographer, or an editor, or videographer, all of a sudden, I'm paying you $150,000. And I would have thought I could have hired you for nothing because you were a starving artist.
Now, here's the point. If you want to have more negotiating power in the capitalist game, you have to create more options for yourself. Fortunately, you don't have to go back to school to acquire some valuable skills in this area. Simple things like learning video editing in your free time can even give you more options. Learning cinematography, storytelling, web designing, software development, or even social media marketing can all give you more options. Making YouTube videos on your phone every weekend can give you more options in a few years to come. Spending 30 minutes every day studying a new technology like blockchain or artificial intelligence can give you more options.
Use your time to study.
By having more options, I mean having additional value you can render in the marketplace. This means being able to negotiate a raise from your employer, using that skill to start your own business, or coming in contact with someone who appreciates that skill and is willing to treat you like a god for having it.